Yo, what is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 gameplay video. Hey, in this video we're going to be talking about tips for clearing the final encounter of the Prophecy Dungeon and killing the Kell Echo solo, right? I've now soloed the dungeon on both PS4 and on PC. The gameplay in this video is from a PC clear of the dungeon, since PC gameplay just frankly looks nicer. It's all on mouse and keyboard and features the exact same build and weapons that I used in my PS4 clear. Now, before we get into the video, just a quick heads up. So tomorrow's stream, I'm going to be doing a challenge stream for myself, right? I'm a PvP guy, right? So tomorrow's stream, I'm going to be streaming all 3 dungeons solo. I'm going to try and clear all 3 dungeons in order: Shattered Throne, Pit of Heresy, Prophecy, in order, solo. And I'm going to try and do it in my stream block, which is only 5 hours long. So for Glad, right, that's a walk in the park. For me, that's a challenge. So I'm going to be streaming that challenge. And I'm actually going to be doing giveaways. We'll be giving away stuff with every encounter I clear, and with every dungeon I clear, we'll be giving free stuff away in chat live. So feel free to go to truevanguard.com and follow the page there. And come check it out tomorrow. I will go live at noon Eastern, so I would love to see you there as I try to get myself through all 3 dungeons solo in 5 hours. So anyways, moving on. So now this whole dungeon, the Prophecy Dungeon, is just about managing chaos. Quite honestly, none of the bosses in this dungeon are particularly challenging on their own, right? It's really about surviving all the things between you and boss damage phases. So this video will focus on trying to help you survive all the various sources of damage you'll have to juggle and be mindful of. In fact, in the gameplay you're watching, I had really bad damage. I had a really bad damage phase on the boss, and I had to go to 4 damage phases to put him down. That means I had to survive the pyramid room 4 times to get the job done. I won't be overly specific here on the basic elements of the encounter, because I'm assuming that if you're soloing the dungeon, you've probably already cleared it with a team and understand the basics of how the encounter works. But essentially, you're going to be clearing 3 pillars in the 3 corners of the room before going to damage phase on the boss. The pillars will be any combination of light and dark, and clearing the very first pillar is the hardest part of this encounter. As soon as you start the encounter, you'll be dealing with 3 copies of the boss constantly shooting their shrapnel launchers at you from all corners, while having scions spawning around the room, while having knights with crazy accuracy pegging you with their boomer cannons and splash damage, and even covering the floor with fire on top of all that. So in other words, the whole room is getting lit up. The key here is to first make sure your build has some essential basics. So let's start there, okay? Bare necessities. This dungeon is easiest, according to most experts, on a hunter. If you're on a hunter, you should absolutely be running invis, whether it's top tree or bottom tree Night Stalker. Most people prefer 6th Coyote and smoke grenade invisibility, although running max mobility and invis on dodge works too. Invis is so nice for survivability. They don't shoot what they can't see. You basically want to be invisible as much as possible, so spam the crap out of it. If you're on a Titan, running bottom tree Sunbreaker is a great strategy, as sunspots are fantastic for healing. I play Warlock, and while most people use Well of Radiance on this encounter, I actually prefer Devour, but either will do. Survivability is the most important thing here. So if you're making a decision like, okay, well, I could do this and that will be better for boss damage, or I could run this and that's going to make me survive better in the pyramid room, I would go with the latter. I would prioritize, personally, I would prioritize survivability. I prefer using Devour because I get to keep the pedal to the floor, and as long as I'm killing stuff, I'm getting my health back. That means making sure that you always have a grenade cooled down. Hunters also have access to Worm Husk, which is wonderful for survivability as well. Now let's take a look at your armor. Here's a list of things you're going to want to get your hands on. Now I'm running Taken Barrier. Now I've not had Taken Barrier drop in the form of a 2.0 mod, but I did have a handful of them for 1.0 armor. So I dug an old helmet out of the vault and tossed it on there. It works just fine. Taken Barrier is going to reduce your damage received by taken enemies by 20% for 10 seconds after you get hit by a taken enemy. That's absolutely massive. If you have this mod, use this mod. I'm also running 2 major resist mods to help offset the crazy amount of splash damage that you're taking from the knights. And lastly, I recommend Concussive Dampener on your class item to even further reduce the splash damage you'll be receiving. Don't be silly and think, I don't need these things. It's 100% worth it to just take a few minutes to optimize your gear before diving into any of these encounters. And you can also run, if you have taken armaments, you can use that. Taken Invigoration is nice to have. It all depends on your build. Those last 2 are not absolutely necessary. I would say Taken Barrier is the #1 most important of the Taken mods, and that's the one I would prioritize above the others. But again, it depends on your build. You could run basically infinite healing rifts with Taken Invigoration. You have some options there to be creative. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about strategies for the encounter. Like I said, clearing the first pillar is the hardest part. I tend to try to get this part done as quickly and efficiently as possible. So I'll take a moment here, just watch this. This is going to be that first phase, just clearing that first pillar, and I want you to see, instead of me talking over it, I want you to just see how I do it. And this is real quick. This is a real quick clearing of this section. So just go ahead and watch that, and then I'll pick up the commentary again. Okay, so basically, as soon as the bosses spawn in the corners, I'm in slay mode. You can see that in the gameplay. I'm looking to kill every scion in the room first. I use mountaintop to clear them in the clusters that they spawn in if possible. You can take most of them out in a single shot and clean up the stragglers with a recluse or whatever primary you're using. As soon as they're dead, I pick the color of motes that's most convenient based on what I need and where the knights are positioned. I drop them quickly before another wave of scions can come along, and then I book it over to a pillar and I cleanse it. Next, I know I'm going to have to deal with an ogre, so I shoot the floor with one anarchy shot, and I wait for the big chungus to pop up and I tag him in the chest once. Between those 2 shots, the one on the floor where he spawns and the one on his chest, he's going to have lightning going from the floor to his junk, and he's going to be down every time. I set it on him and I leave him alone. I set it on him and I dip. As soon as I put the one on his chest, I'm gone. I'm back in slay mode. I'm killing scions if they're there. If they're not there, I'm already taking down the knights. It gets a little less chaotic with every corner that you clear until you get to the damage phase. So it's like most chaotic initially. You clear that first corner, it dials down. You clear that second corner, ooh, it dials down. Now it's really manageable. It's a nice easy pace, and you can go from there. Now, you do not have to kill the 3rd ogre, but I always do. It's easy, it's fast, and when he goes down, I can take a moment to collect myself, grab that, just run a lap around the room, get all the ammo I need, make sure I'm capped out on everything, and I want to make sure that my super and my grenade charges are up before I go into damage phase. There's really no rush to go to the boss damage room. As soon as the 3rd ogre is gone, no more knights will spawn, and they're the most dangerous. So between the knights and the bosses in the corner, those are the most dangerous parts of that room. They're taken off the board. They're no longer there. Scions will continue to spawn, but they're not a threat unless your controller dies or your mouse disconnects for some weird reason. You can leverage this time as an opportunity to build super energy if you need it, or to get your abilities back up, even collect heavy ammo, do some heavy finishers, whatever you got to do to make sure you got heavy ammo to go into that final room. I use oppressive darkness on my grenades to damage the boss, so I'm always going to wait until I have that grenade charged back. Okay, so we head into the sucky thing, and we get pulled into the boss damage room. As soon as I spawn into the room, I'm going to rush forward, get my oppressive darkness grenade on the Kell Echo, and follow it up with a Nova, and instantly 2 anarchy shots to capitalize on the debuff. Then I'm going to switch to my special weapon and follow it up with some more damage. I rail him as hard as I can until the hobgoblins start spawning. The trick to managing the chaos in this room is just to stay calm and not see the boss as an actual threat. The only thing is his teleport attack. So slow down, take your time, focusing on the snipers after that initial damage phase. Keep an eye on the boss and move when you see him start his animation for throwing that teleport attack. Get damage here and there where you can, but the damage phase is essentially, it's basically damage the boss up front when you first spawn in, then focus on getting to the end of the room and clearing the snipers, and tag the echo here and there when the opportunity presents itself. Then go ham on damage again at the end after you kill the last 2 snipers at the end of the room. Again, I toss my oppressive darkness grenade debuff on him. I hit him with more heavy and special attacks. And listen, I didn't do optimal damage in this gameplay you're seeing. I had to 4-phase him. I left him with a tiny bit of health at the end of the 3rd phase. I had to go in for a 4th time, and he died right off the bat on the 4th damage phase. And that's honestly okay. You're just trying to survive and whittle the echo down a little bit at a time. Obviously, if you can get this thing done in 3 damage phases, that's great. But if you have to go to 4, big deal. As long as you have a really good rhythm in the pyramid room, you'll be okay. After I do my final damage to the boss, I take a moment to get my grenade charge back and reload my weapons, and then it's back to work. I head back into the pyramid room, I look at what kinds of motes I'll be needing for the room, and I go straight to scion killing, then night clearing. Once you get that rhythm down, this encounter isn't terrible solo. You just have to stay mobile the entire time. I only slow down my movement once the scions are gone and I'm dealing with the knights. This dungeon is doable for solo PvE players. You can get this thing done. I'm going to make sure that I get my tips for the other encounters up as well, and hopefully seeing a PvP guy like myself getting this done, hopefully that's encouraging to you. So let me know if this was helpful, and let me know how your runs went. Take it easy, my friends. Be warm and well fed. I'll catch you in the Crucible.